passionate supporter and advocate for female descendants of the Revolution, began confidential correspondence with some of his like-minded brothers in the SAR. In a letter dated October 25, 1889, William McDowell writes,
"We shall invite the organization in the different states of the Union of the Daughters of the Revolution, independent entirely of the sons. I'm in a hurry to get at this work that I may show the sons what the daughters can do. On my suggestion, the vote on the subject yesterday was not recorded in our minutes, for the reason that I wanted to save the gentlemen who voted no from being so thoroughly ashamed of themselves when they see what an opportunity they had and let slip by."
After Mary Smith Lockwood wrote her rallying cry in the Washington Post and interested women began planning the new organization, the official organizing meeting was called for October 11, 1890, and included Mary DeShay, who, as Secretary Pro Tem, recorded in those meeting minutes this resolution.
Resolved that at this, our organizing meeting, we initiate the important part of our work, the securing and preserving of the historical spots of America, and the erection thereon of suitable monuments to perpetuate the memories of the heroic deeds of the men and women who aided the Revolution and created constitutional government in America, by undertaking to do what we can towards completing the monument and the memory of Mary Washington, mother of George Washington. And we hereby call upon every patriot to send us a contribution, large and small, to our treasurer for this purpose.
Just one day after that historic meeting of the newly formed Daughters of the American Revolution, Miss DeShay sent a letter to Virginia Cabell informing her of an important assignment.
My dear Mrs. Cabell, Mr. McDowell has appointed you, Mrs. Lockwood, Mrs. Darling, Mrs. Walworth, and me as committee to call on Mrs. Harrison to ask her acceptance of the office of President General. The time selected is 4:30 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, Monday, October 13th. The ladies will meet you at the White House.
5 days after that meeting at the Executive Mansion, the Secretary to the First Lady of the United States sent a letter on behalf of Mrs. Harrison to say she would accept the position. In the days and months following, meetings and correspondence gave shape to the new society. As we all know, many ideas are often put forth but not always realized. Ellen Hardin Walworth wrote to Mrs. Cabell a suggestion to consider for the Society's motto.
My dear Mrs. Cabell, it has occurred to me that I did not suggest for consideration, as I had intended, this simple motto for our seal, Amor Patriae, love of country. It seems to me that this might settle at once an objection already urged against us in a tendency to create an aristocracy, or at least a class sentiment, as it would point to the real inspiration of the association.
From the minutes of the third and final organizing meeting on December 11, it is noted that the Executive Committee recommended that the motto Amor Patriae be changed to home and country. Also from this December meeting, the Vice President General presiding read aloud a telegram that had been sent from the Sons of the American Revolution.
Resolved that the General Board of Managers of the Society of the Sons of the American Revolution extend its hearty sympathy to the Daughters of the American Revolution in their organization, and it assures them of cordial cooperation in their patriotic work.
As the Daughters were finalizing their vision for the Society these first few months, William McDowell continued to show his support. In a letter to Mrs. Cabell on November 19, 1890, he writes in part,
My dear Mrs. Cabell, I received a newspaper clipping giving an account of your meeting and believe that your society has a brilliant future before it.
From the intensive meetings and correspondence of those early months, a constitution of the National Society was established. Our enduring objectives of historic preservation, education, and patriotism were detailed in that original DAR Constitution and continue to guide our work today.
Article 2, Objects of the Society. The objects of this society are 1. To perpetuate the memory and the spirit of the men and women who achieved American independence by the acquisition and protection of historical spots and the erection of monuments, by the encouragement of historical research in relation to the Revolution and the publication of its results, by the preservation of documents and relics, and of the records of the individual services of the revolutionary soldiers and patriots, and by the promotion of celebrations of all patriotic anniversaries. 2. To carry out the injunction of Washington in his farewell address to the American people, to promote, as an object of primary importance, institutions for the general diffusion of knowledge, thus developing an enlightened public opinion, and affording to the young and old such advantages as shall develop in them the largest capacity for performing the duties of American citizens. 3. To cherish, maintain, and extend the institutions of American freedom, to foster true patriotism and love of country, and to aid in securing for mankind all the blessings of liberty.
Reflecting on how the Society continued to grow in that first year, prolific writer and early historian general Mary Smith Lockwood described how word spread about the purpose of the Society.
Newspapers took up the cry and sent intelligence over the land. Application papers began to pour in. The American women were awakened by this revelation, and now, what is it for, was answered with, it is not for an aristocracy, but to honor the men who carried the muskets and the boys who beat the drums and fifed Yankee Doodle for liberty, for the honor of the women who served the country in their homes while the men were away fighting the battles for freedom, and that their names should be rescued from the musty annals of the Revolution and for the first time inscribed on the pages of history as factors in making the nation.
At the First Continental Congress in February of 1892, Registrar General Eugenia Washington stressed the importance of preserving the stories and records of our revolutionary patriot ancestors, and the importance of verifying documentation to ensure its integrity.
The records of the services of these 1,306 patriots thus preserved form volumes of most interesting as well as valuable history. Yet this history will lose much of its value if the statements contained therein are not to be relied upon. Therefore, we recommend to the regents and delegates present to give an exact and full statement of the ancestors' service and authority for the statement. For these records, we should remember, are collected not only for present use, but shall stand through future generations as monuments to our noble sires.
Our founders knew the importance of preserving those records in an appropriately prominent home for the Society. Virginia Cabell addressed the membership at the First Continental Congress and prophetically described the magnificent DAR headquarters complex where we gather annually for our conference and which serves our membership and the entire Washington, D.C. community throughout the year as a brick and mortar testament to their visionary foresight.
The building of a house beautiful, to be the property of these American women calling themselves by inherited right daughters of the American Revolution. This house will be built in or near the beautiful capital city named for Washington, the immortal. It should be the finest building ever owned by women. The fairest marbles from Vermont and Tennessee, the most enduring granite from Massachusetts and the Virginias. Purely American this structure should be. A great hall for lectures, addresses, and general conventions of the society is greatly needed. It could be utilized on many occasions to produce a certain income for its support. Offices and committee rooms are required for the business of the society, now more than 1,000 in number, and soon to number many thousands. Safes are essential for the preservation of documents and relics. There should be a library unsurpassed in all branches pertaining to the records of the society and containing the largest, most complete collections of works upon American history.
While our beloved First President General did not live to see how our society flourished beyond those early years, she set a tone at her address to the First Continental Congress, a challenge that emboldened our early members and continues to inspire us today.
Our hope is in unity and self-sacrifice. Since this society was organized, and so much thought and reading directed to the early struggle of this country, it has been made plain that much of its success was due to the character of the women of that earlier era. The unselfish part they acted constantly commends itself to our admiration and example. If there is no abatement in this element of success in our ranks, I feel sure their daughters can perpetuate a society worthy of the cause and worthy of themselves. We now feel that this society is firmly established and in good condition for future success. It remains with us all to see that it lives and grows to greater and better ends.
Madam President General, it is a privilege for me, as the National Chairman of the Celebrate 125 Committee, to express on behalf of all daughters, past and present, our heartfelt commitment to carry forward Mrs. Harrison's charge that our society lives and grows to greater and better ends. After 125 years of accomplishment, we rise with joy to face a future bright with promise, one built upon the soundest of foundations and the most enduring of missions. I congratulate you and the National Society on 125 years of service to America. And inspired anew by the words of our founders, I also suspect that the best is yet to come. Happy birthday, NSDAR.
Thank you, Presley. It is so inspiring to know that at that organizing meeting 125 years ago, with just 18 members in attendance, that the business they carried out that day is still guiding our organization today. New citizens, deserving students, men and women in uniform, veterans in need, all have been served by the DAR. Spirit Magazine. Read our publications, such as The American Treasure, The Enduring Spirit of DAR. I assure you that you too will be awed by the combined accomplishment of our organization. I learn new chapters of our history every day.
At its onset, the founding members of the Daughters of the American Revolution invoked the thoughts of our country's founders, that education, above all else, is the decisive element of a democracy. The DAR built this idea to the 3 pillars of the organization and have dedicated a majority of their efforts over the past century to education programs throughout the nation. In the early 20th century, the newly formed DAR contributed financial support at the chapter level to numerous schools across the country. In 1914, the South Carolina Daughters voted to establish a school for mountain girls in the remote northwestern part of the state. Securing support from the National Society, as well as land and financial donations, the chapter opened the Tomasi DAR School in February of 1919, and today continues its educational mission. Other areas of the country also saw the creation of schools during the early 20th century, including the Kate Duncan Smith DAR School in Alabama, the Crossnor School in North Carolina, the Hillside School in Massachusetts, the Hindman Settlement School in Kentucky, and Berry College in Georgia. Today, the 6 DAR schools are funded by over $1 million annually from the DAR. Through DAR's American Indians Committee, funds are also allocated to Bacone College in Oklahoma and Chemawa Indian Preparatory Academy in Oregon to help the educational needs of Native American students. American history has always been a focus of DAR education efforts. The first DAR American History Essay Contest was held in 1898. Today, through a nationally coordinated program that encourages youngsters to learn about history in a new light, more than 4,000 schools participate in this annual contest for students in grades 5 through 8, with nearly 66,000 essays submitted yearly. The DAR Scholarship Committee awards approximately $200,000 yearly in a wide range of disciplines. Applications for DAR scholarships average more than 1,600 each year. Educating the next generation to be good citizens is also a top priority for the DAR through various programs. In 1921, after years of chapter-level citizen education programs for immigrants, the National Society published the DAR Manual for Citizenship to help educate newly arrived immigrants preparing for the naturalization process. Over the next few decades, the DAR would produce over 1 million copies of the manual. Junior American Citizens Committee is one of the Society's oldest youth-oriented committees. It reaches out to tens of thousands of students from kindergarten through grade 12 to promote patriotism in every child. To help promote the program across the country, many chapters recognize achievements through awards, as well as holding contests in creative expression and community service. With more than half of the national committees focusing on elements of education, the DAR is prioritizing this founding principle within the organization. Over the last 125 years, through its many programs for youth and adults, the DAR has given the opportunity to learn to millions of lives. With a force of nearly 1 million members since its founding, the Daughters of the American Revolution have performed a vital range of service in support of the military over the past 125 years. Founded to preserve the memory and spirit of the revolutionary patriots who fought for America's independence, the DAR extends that mission by honoring the sacrifices of all those who have continued fighting for our freedom throughout our nation's history. Patriotism, one of the founding tenets of the organization, lives within each and every daughter. While the DAR was still in its infancy, the United States found itself in conflict with Spain in 1898. Dr. Anita Newcomb McGee, then a DAR Vice President General, volunteered the organization to help screen the nurses needed by the government. The DAR Hospital Corps would be established and screened thousands of nursing applications within the next few months, sending more than 1,500 nurses to help in the conflict. During the First World War, numerous chapters volunteered their efforts to help. Members of the Cincinnati DAR knitted garments for the troops. Other chapters rolled bandages, collected clothing, and donated food for the USO. The Mercy Warren chapter of Springfield, Massachusetts, hosted first aid classes and fundraisers. After the attacks on Pearl Harbor, the DAR headquarters became a center for wartime activity. Offices throughout the DAR buildings were loaned to the American Red Cross. A day nursery was opened in the basement of Constitution Hall for the children of enlisted men whose wives were working. The DAR members also purchased over $2 million in war bonds and stamps during the course of the fighting. Through conflicts in Korea, Vietnam, and the Middle East, DAR members passionately lent their support in various ways through monetary donations and volunteer efforts. Following the attack on September 11th, the DAR worked with the Department of the Navy to sponsor the crew of the aircraft carrier USS John C. Stennis. When the ship returned to port, DAR members' support shifted to the Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany, which cares for wounded military personnel. DAR members also regularly send care packages to troops overseas. Care for our nation's veterans has also always been a top priority for the DAR, and members perform more than 300,000 volunteer hours annually to support veterans programs. The DAR is one of the largest groups to serve on the Department of Veterans Affairs Voluntary Service National Advisory Committee, and DAR member volunteers are a regular fixture at VA hospitals across the country. The Daughter Support to Veterans also provides the perfect setting for capturing and recording their stories as part of the Library of Congress Veterans History Project. DAR members have also served in all branches of service themselves, including more than 600 members who served in a variety of capacities during World War II, and many more who have come after them. Whether at home or abroad, the members of the Daughters of the American Revolution serve the country that they love with the same dedication as their revolutionary patriots. Through their continuing efforts to support active duty service members and honor veterans, DAR members are committed to celebrating those who defend our nation's freedom. Honoring and preserving the memory of those who served in the American Revolution not only includes the signers of the Declaration of Independence or high-ranking military officers, but also the everyday soldier or colonist who contributed to our fight for independence. As many as 250,000 men served in the Army or militia, and countless others heroically helped with the efforts. In the first report to Congress, the newly formed Daughters of the American Revolution described that their genealogical research showed the experiences of the many unnoticed heroes and forgotten heroines who composed the rank and file of the nation in 1776. Patriots like Peter Rogers, who enlisted as a fife major in the 4th Regiment, Connecticut Line, and served in Washington's Army in Pennsylvania, and William Hughes, who was a volunteer private in the 2nd New Hampshire Regiment. Other patriots contributed to the cause off the battlefield, such as Michael Gratz of Philadelphia, who signed a pledge to cease trading with the British and supplied gunpowder and firearms to George Washington's troops. Women also contributed to the fight for independence, but their efforts were often less heralded. In the early 1920s, the Daughters of the New York State Organization helped to honor a once-forgotten patriot with a burial place of honor. Margaret Cochran Corbin manned an artillery cannon after her husband was killed during a battle. She was wounded and years later was buried near West Point. Through research, the DAR linked Margaret Corbin to her heroic actions. Her body was exhumed and buried in a place of honor in the West Point Cemetery. Other women patriots also had military combat experience in the Revolution, such as Deborah Sampson, who disguised herself as a man and served in the Continental Army for 17 months before being wounded and honorably discharged. Elizabeth Zane showed great courage during the siege of Fort Henry when she volunteered to leave the fort during a pause in gun battle to fetch a keg of gunpowder, and narrowly returned safely with the precious ammunition. While never directly in the line of fire, Mercy Otis Warren's strong convictions and political writings during the Revolution helped to galvanize the cause. African American and American Indian patriots also participated in the American Revolution. James Armistead, a slave, served as a spy for the Americans, while acting as a servant for British General Cornwallis. And Toby Gilmore, an African-born slave, won his own freedom by serving as a private in the Continental Army and contributing to a number of significant battles. Peter Harris, of the Catawba Nation in South Carolina, fought in the Revolution and was eventually recognized for his service. In October 2002, DAR opened the exhibit Forgotten Patriots, African American and American Indian Patriots in the Revolutionary War. It was the culmination of more than 20 years of research and based on a publication produced by DAR. To date, thousands of African American and American Indian patriots have been identified, and DAR researchers continue to work to uncover these individuals and their unique stories. Many foreign patriots also fought shoulder to shoulder with American patriots during the Revolution, including thousands of troops from France. Nationals of Sweden, Poland, Germany, Portugal, and the Netherlands also aided the American cause. Additionally, Spanish citizens provided enormous financial and military support to the American Revolution. Don Diego de Guerdeque was the financial intermediary between the Spanish court and the colonies during the American Revolution, helping to supply munitions and other military goods to the colonists. And the great Spanish military leader Bernardo de Galvez led Spanish forces defeating the British at the Siege of Pensacola. In the 1990s, the DAR formed a task force to identify Spanish nationals who contributed to the revolutionary cause. Since that time, members of the task force continue to develop a bibliography of historic events and sources that can prove Revolutionary War service of Spanish nationals. DAR's work and genealogical research has helped increase the knowledge of the patriots who helped make this country. With each new application and each new bit of information, we can have a better understanding of the sacrifices that were made in the 18th century. And with that, we can honor those heroes, one and all.
The 125th anniversary of the founding of the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is an exciting time to be a DAR member. We have looked back into our archives and we found some wonderful videos of our past Presidents General as they have shared their memories from decades ago. And now we are digitizing those for future generations, and we have invited our current Honorary Presidents General to share their memories of their administrations and their accomplishments with us today.
I was very in awe of the organization because my mother-in-law, Lorna Owen Kemper, was chaplain general in Mrs. Spicer's administration. I, too, became responsible, feeling that I believe in education, historic preservation, and patriotism down deep in my heart. So I wanted to be a part of that.
I wanted to join, first of all, so many of the family members, grandma and my cousin, and they're all, and mother, all members of DAR. So I just said, time to carry on.
I joined DAR as a junior member. I joined my mother's chapter and have been a member for many, many years. I think the reason I really joined the organization was because of a love of the objectives that it promoted. Historic preservation and education, and I was also very interested in genealogy.
I joined DAR in 1968, along with my mother and several family members. We were asked to form a new chapter, and that was named for my ancestor, Peter Houston. And after attending my first state conference in Nashville, I met so many outstanding Tennessee Daughters that I just knew I wanted to be a part of this organization.
Well, my mother was truly the driving force behind my joining the DAR. I was raised in a family where my parents instilled a very strong sense of family history and love of country. And so the first time I went to the Continental Congress 40 years ago, I knew once I had been here that this was the organization I wanted to identify with, and I wanted to become just very much involved in every aspect of DAR.
One thing that I've always enjoyed about DAR is that...
And I don't think I would ever have become active had they not called me the week before the meeting to make sure I had a babysitter, offered to watch my son so I could go to the meetings. Several times when I didn't have a sitter, they said, bring him with you.
When I was growing up, I was always aware that I had family members who had been members of the DAR and been encouraged to join at some point. And really, after the bicentennial of our country, when all the fervor of patriotism, I decided it was a good time for me to join, so I began the application process.
Well, I enjoyed the work, and I loved to be with the members and also all the work they did with the students and scholarships and the schools, the DAR schools. I enjoyed that. Of course, I was a teacher. We raised over $777,000 for Ellis Island and helped with the restoration of the Statue of Liberty.
When we became involved in the World War II Memorial campaign to raise funds for that beautiful memorial on the mall, we became an active partner. We raised over $460,000 for that memorial and had the opportunity to work with Robert Dole, who was the volunteer national chairman.
We raised over $4.2 million for the renovation and restoration of the buildings. And the fact that the daughters gave so generously, and we could do so many wonderful things to the buildings.
My President General's project began the creation of a new digital database designed to improve operations and provide member access. The work of our genealogy department was expedited with the digitization of 800,000 applications and the accompanying 9 million support documents.
My primary goal when I was elected President General was to complete the digitization project that was begun in the previous administration. That was a continuing President General's project. A few of the proudest moments were the dedication ceremony of the Marian Anderson commemorative stamp, and it was a wonderful opportunity for there to be a wonderful relationship established between the DAR and Ms. Anderson's family.
Certainly proud of the work we did on the President General's project, especially work on the North Terrace with the flooding and stone deterioration. It was in critical need of work. We were able to, under the terrace, to build a 2,300 square foot vault just beneath that surface for collections of the society, and that was a wealth of storage space.
As crazy as it seems, Washington, D.C. experienced an earthquake. When they did the assessment of the DAR library laylight ceiling, they discovered not damage from the earthquake, but damage from time. And our members who love our House Beautiful so much came through with over $2 million to support the restoration of the DAR library laylight.
Most fun activities that we implemented was our Celebrate America committee. When we met, we challenged our members to try to come up with 1 million hours of community service a year. We just asked them to record the hours they're already doing in their community. And what astonished us is the enthusiasm that the chapters developed while working together in these community projects, how they became better acquainted with their own members. And then our first year, we had over 4,760,000 hours of community service.
My advice to future people is enjoy every minute, yeah. Work hard and enjoy it, yeah.
I think one thing is very important, and that is to approach your leadership as an opportunity for service and to surround yourself with wonderful people who will help you to accomplish that.
I think it's important for people who are going to take on leadership positions to remember that their goal should be to work for the very best of the organization, to always keep in mind what the mission is, and to do their very best for DAR. I think any President General who's going to take that role needs to know that she's got to put on her running shoes and get on the track, and she won't get off for 3 years.
Always be true to yourself, and when you make a decision about anything, always be certain of what that decision will reflect on as far as the national society is concerned, and also what influence it might have on other daughters at the time. So when you look in the mirror, be true to yourself and always think about others.
I hope every member will consider becoming a leader, whether it's in her chapter or her state or the national level. What I would encourage them to do is to learn as much as you can about the DAR. Take advantage of every opportunity. Go to all those meetings, go to the workshops and the seminars, and learn as much as possible. But it's not possible to serve as President General without the full support of your family. That it truly is the biggest sacrifice, is the time with my family that I'm missing. They are completely supportive because they know that this is a rare privilege that I have for 3 years, and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
The most rewarding things as a member of DAR has been the association with ladies from all over the United States and through the units overseas. The friendships made have been just precious and dear, and I think every member will feel that way about the friendships.
The 125th anniversary is the perfect time to reflect on the energy and the mindset of our founders.
One of the things that I feel has occurred over the past 25 years is that the DAR has been able to better accommodate the busy women who are working outside the home, women who have so many things going on in their lives. I think we've done a wonderful job of accommodating them in terms of an organization.
Celebrating the 125th anniversary of the society, I can't help but think back over the years and reflect on all the leaders that we've had and all the members that have done so much over the years and their dedication to the work of the society. It's really amazing when you think about it, that a small group of women organized this society in 1890, and yet many of their goals are still being sought after today, and we're working towards making this a continuing better society.
My involvement in DAR has always been spurred by the values of the organization and the friendships that I've made there. I have to say that one of the things that DAR allowed me to do is emulate the very best of the people I met.
I've often wondered, as we're planning our quasquicentennial celebration, what our founders would think of us from 125 years ago when they began to have the vision for this organization and make plans for it. What would they think if they were to come back and see this society now and see how it's grown, see what wonderful care we've taken of these buildings, which they had the vision for? I know that our founders would be so proud that our society has grown, that we're continuing to be a vital part of this country, that we're holding dear to our missions of historic preservation, education, and patriotism, and that most of all, we're still honoring God, home, and country as we serve united in these United States. "125 years ago, when our founders met for the first time, they determined we needed a fireproof building and managed to not only raise the money, but build this beautiful complex of buildings. The Guardian Trust campaign is the way for today's DAR to provide for tomorrow's DAR. Now is the time to create this endowment fund to preserve our buildings for the future.
When our founders and the early leaders of the DAR, they had the courage to step out in faith and to bit by bit buy the property, and then stone by stone they built the building. And they didn't get the roof on for the First Continental Congress. And when they finally finished it, they realized that every one of the Presidents General involved had been supportive and willing to promote the project.
Certainly our younger daughters that are daughters now, and those that will become members in the future, will always be proud of these buildings. To know the history of that small band of women that built these buildings is just incredible, that story. And we all want to continue that legacy. All of our members are proud to say that this is buildings that were built and maintained by women.
We can proudly say that we not only have a large collection of personal artifacts from the American Revolution, we have one of the largest collection of genealogical libraries in the world. We have a fabulous DAR museum that we share with school children every week that never have an opportunity to see museums otherwise. Constitution Hall has nearly 1 million visitors a year. It's the largest concert hall in the metropolitan D.C. area. Most of all, our founders had a vision for a home. We have a home right here at 1776 D Street.
When you think of preserving these buildings, I think you have to remember what we have in this building, those beautiful period rooms. Think of the Americana room and all of those precious documents, all of the furnishings throughout our buildings. Just think of the buildings, the architecture itself. That preservation effort is awesome. It is something that we're committed to doing, and it takes resources to do that. We have inherited these, and it's up to us to protect and preserve them.
I think my first impression of a visit to 1776 D Street was that the entire complex of buildings was absolutely overwhelming. And then experiences of being in Constitution Hall at the meetings and the opening night and National Defense Night ceremonies. I think that all of these things for a young DAR member were very impressionable experiences because it was an overwhelming thing to be there for the first time.
Well, most of the time, a President General has not had the opportunity to make a choice because of the needs of the maintenance of our headquarters. A President General should not be forced to take that on as her project. Our President General should take out projects that go beyond our headquarters, out into the world around us. What has been done in the past is there to remain. What will be done in today's world will be there to remain in future years. So everything we've done has not been in vain. So it is high time that we create some kind of an endowment that will preserve those buildings for years to come.
It would be wonderful to have that endowment so you didn't have each administration have to have a project to raise funds for this, to prepare this building or do that building or anything else like that. So that's all taken care of so they can go ahead and do marvelous things, more things with the students, the education and conservation and restoration.
And I see this Guardian Trust campaign as one that may take several administrations to raise the money, but our members will realize that they're doing the same thing today that our early members did in order to build the buildings, and they're building a fund, the Guardian Trust Fund, that will take care of our buildings forever.
Can you imagine what we would be able to do as an organization if we didn't have to worry about where the funds are coming from to maintain our beautiful buildings? Can you imagine what we could do on the national level, on the state level, and in our local communities in the way of programs and projects? So I invite you, each and every one of you members who love this organization, who are committed to preserving what we have for future generations, to join me in supporting the Guardian Trust campaign.
My hope, my vision, is that we will have this wonderful endowment campaign and that 125 years, our buildings will be as beautiful then as they are now. I want my granddaughter to come here in 18 years when she's a member and be proud of these buildings that we've taken good care of. I want my great-granddaughter and my great-great-granddaughters to come when they're members and also share in our vision and say, my great-grandma took part in this. She helped keep these buildings as beautiful as they are.
What this organization needs first and foremost is a home.
Built by women, managed by women, run by women.
What our founders built, we must preserve.
It should be the finest building ever owned by women.
This is about more than just one President General and one project.
Now is the time for an endowment to preserve our fantastic home.
This Guardian Trust campaign is about taking care of the vision of our founders. 125 years later, we have the opportunity to not only preserve and restore this building, but to make sure that it is still as beautiful 125 years from now as it is today. Please join me in giving to the Guardian Trust campaign for future generations. Almost 1 million women have joined the society since its founding. We want to show the hundreds of thousands or even millions of hours they have given in service to their communities, and to show that they are passionate about their preservation of our history, promotion of quality education, and of showing their patriotic pride in America.
The Celebrate America initiative was created in honor of the 125th anniversary of the Daughters of the American Revolution. It encourages members to become involved in community service and to record their hours to help highlight the mission of the service organization.
We decided to call it Celebrate America because it's our way to show how DAR gives back to our communities. We have such a history of service within the organization, and we are so willing to share our time and talents with others to make America an even better place.
DAR members have answered the call for service throughout the group's history. In the late 19th century, the newly formed organization helped found the Army Nurse Corps at the onset of the Spanish-American War. For decades, the DAR supported the mission of the Red Cross in times of crisis, and members worked with newly arrived immigrants on Ellis Island.
What if we challenged our members to 1 million hours over the 3 years? And that seemed a little scary. I did the math and divided it by our number of members. Well, what if we challenged them to 1 million hours a year? And so as we quickly exceeded that goal, we realized we underestimated the daughters and how hard they're working nationwide. So now we've set a new goal of 10 million hours for the administration, and I think we may have once again underestimated our members.
DAR members have long been involved in community service. Now through Celebrate America, they are also logging their hours to tell the story of how DAR gives back to America.
We have received hundreds of stories of how our members are working in their communities worldwide. We have a member in Arkansas who has her therapy dog called Stormy, and she takes Stormy to a local elementary school to help students who are having trouble with reading. One of my other favorite stories is a 70-year-old member in Louisiana who wanted to draw attention as part of an organization to the number of children in foster care in Louisiana. So what did she do? She rappelled down a building. One of our members in Massachusetts works with a VA-sponsored program called Waves for the Brave. They take veterans who have amputations, take them to the beach, and let them surf. And then this lady served as a catcher in the water. So if they fell, if they had any problems, she was there to catch them and bring them in.
Whether DAR members are escorting World War II veterans on honor flights, caring for historic sites, helping bring awareness to health issues, or working with underserved youth, the daughters are celebrating America through service to their communities.
The beauty of the Celebrate America program is a cumulative effect it has. However we're doing it, we are making a difference, and that's the story we want to be able to tell.
Knowing that other people care and that other people are out there wanting to do something good in their community, I think that's really powerful.
As DAR members, when we think of service, it's very broad, and it is from the gifts that each person has to contribute.
When you volunteer, not only are you taking all of the talents and the experiences that you have and putting them to work in the community, but you're also building up the community at the same time.
We want a society founded on service. That was a quotation taken directly from Eugenia Washington, one of our founders. And over the last 125 years, that is exactly what has happened. DAR members have been involved in service to their communities from the beginning of the organization, and we continue to do that today. DAR itself is a very large organization, almost 3,000 chapters in every state of the Union, as well as in numerous countries across the world. Those 177,000 women, wherever they find themselves, can impact their communities in very positive ways. So it starts from a very small effort. It might be a member recognizing the need that their community needs a food pantry, and she decides to organize it. She's making a difference in her community because one person saw the need and decided to act on it.
So I've been volunteering with Carpenter Shelter, I believe, for about 8.5 years. So now I generally volunteer on Sunday mornings. My very favorite responsibility is announcing breakfast. And it's my sole job to wake up the residents on Sunday mornings and tell them what an amazing breakfast is waiting for them.
Associations in the community and community groups and the DAR and many other service organizations in our community really do make a difference, and we try and build as many connections to them as possible, recognizing that we do have a shared interest, healthy, strong communities.
DAR only recently formed the Special Projects Grants Program at the national level, but DAR daughters have been helping their communities for the past 125 years. Matching fund grants of up to $10,000 are awarded in the areas of historic preservation, education, and patriotism. Over the past few years, DAR has awarded over $250,000 annually in support of local activities.
The Bath Community Library was founded in 1701, and it was founded because someone in England sent books to the St. Thomas Parish, which is here in Bath. And it started then, and it's been going ever since. The DAR grant was one that would fund technology, computer technology. What we wanted to do was to get more computers so that we could offer classes. We even bought new computers for the staff. They had problems even checking out books sometimes, so now they're able to serve the patrons so much better because of the computer technology that the DAR grant paid for.
Without the support of the DAR Special Grant Program, we would not be able to offer computer classes. We wouldn't be able to have room to bring in additional books as we were cramped before. Patrons' attendance has increased. We have community functions here. All of this we would be without the support of the DAR.
Free Minds uses the tools of books, a book discussion, and creative writing to build a brotherhood and to enable these young men to see new possibilities for their futures. that is what I love about the DAR, like how it's so firmly planted that literacy and education is the way to change the world. It's hope, it's power. And so that started us off, that special projects grant on our Books Across the Miles. And we have to report today, it's amazingly successful.
We met Free Minds when they were just starting to grow. They work with incarcerated youth, and many of them are illiterate or close to that. And as a chapter, we were trying to find things that we could do and be a part and make an impact and have fun. So it just really came all together. For DAR to be involved in Free Minds or in similar activities where we're working with parts of the community that really many people have given up on. That's very rewarding.
I'm very grateful for DAR's support, and I know our members are too, because we get all the books. And, without the books, there wouldn't be a book club. DAR is an organization that accepts them. They know that they made a mistake, but they also believe in them to the point of their continuous support.
For a person like me that come from deep in the streets, like I didn't know anything about positive life. I always looked at criminal activity as life. So once I was able to read and comprehend, I took off from there. I became a positive individual, and that's what I want to continue to be, a positive individual. And it's great for y'all to help.
The capability that I have is to reach out to all of our program managers out in the field, and I simply ask them that question: how are DAR members making a difference in your facility? And in literally a matter of hours, I had emails flooding in telling me about the stories. The impact that DAR has on the veteran community today is very important, because the DAR members continue to come into our VA hospitals and serve in a number of capacities. That gives veterans today an opportunity to remember that there is an organization and there is a community that cares about them and remembers their sacrifice and service to America.
What I like most about DAR's objectives is that its focus is really on giving back to the community around you. I know the three focuses are historic preservation, education, and patriotism, and I feel like those three focuses really align a lot with the volunteer activities that I want to be involved in.
DAR support has been an ability for us as a small organization to expand our reach much farther than we ever thought we could.
It's important for each person to find a way to give back, to be able to volunteer. We are members of a community. We need to be there. We can be there. And we have to look for those opportunities.
Everywhere, DAR members are making a difference in so many different ways across our VA community, and it's heartwarming to be able to get those stories come flooding in so quickly with immediate recollection of how DAR has contributed to the work of VA.
What I am so attracted to about the DAR is how we pull together women of common interests in historic preservation and education and patriotism. And we do real work with real impact and have a great time doing it. Personally, I was attracted to the three key mission areas because of that connection to history, about my family's history, and understanding more about how we're all interconnected and how each one of our patriots made such a difference in their own way, and now we are carrying that torch, and we want to carry it into the future.
Women working together for America, sharing a bond that has lasted for generations. These are the Daughters of the American Revolution, dedicated to their love of God, home, and country.
I'm very proud to be a member of the DAR because it encompasses all that I believe in.
More than 2 centuries after their patriot ancestors founded this nation, Today's DAR is still preserving the ideals that made America great by serving communities across the country.
You get this wonderful feeling at the end of the day that I have accomplished something. I have made a difference. And the people's lives that you touched are infinitely more enriched because DAR has walked into their lives.
The DAR's commitment to America begins with its newest citizens. Today's daughters attend naturalization ceremonies like this one in Houston, Texas. It's a moment the Ramirez family has dreamed about, watching their daughter Cindy become an American.
The first time they say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States as citizens of the United States, it is a moving experience. It reminds us of how fortunate we are to have lived in this country for so many generations.
The DAR has supported immigrants since the days of Ellis Island, providing them with a citizenship manual and a warm welcome.
And we want them to understand that we're glad that they're citizens and we recognize the commitment that they've made.
They made us feel that we're no different, that we belong, and that's very important for us.
This day is a very blessed day for me. I've been waiting for this day.
To see their appreciation and to see their joy, I'm grateful to be able to share the day with them.
The DAR has been proudly serving the public since 1890, when it was founded as an organization for women who are direct descendants of Revolutionary War patriots. Today's DAR is one of the largest service groups with 168,000 members and 3,000 chapters in the United States and abroad. Each year, daughters meet for Continental Congress at their Washington, D.C. headquarters. But the DAR is more than its pageantry, history, and beautiful buildings. Its members make it unique.
The DAR member of today is definitely not a fence sitter.
She's very well educated. She's a professional. She is the retiree. She is the stay-at-home mom.
People think that DAR is for old ladies. My slogan is, it's not your great-grandmother's DAR.
I'm today's DAR.
I'm today's DAR.
I'm today's DAR.
We have women of all color, of all religions, of all politics.
The diversity in DAR really attracted me to the organization because it's a really great group of women who are very dynamic and have a wide range of skills and experiences, and I've really learned a lot from them.
Some of the most remarkable women that you will ever hope to meet are here in DAR. They're just fabulous to work with.
The DAR is growing and it's changing, and I want to be a part of that change.
I'm today's DAR.
I'm today's DAR.
I'm today's DAR.
Today's daughters are a diverse group with a common goal. Their mission is to promote patriotism, education, and historic preservation.
It is the spirit of DAR, the spirit of patriotism, the spirit of service, wanting to do something for someone else.
We can make an impact in this country, and I think that the more people can hear about DAR and the more people can know what we do, the more impact we can actually make.
The DAR's patriotism is felt every day in the nation's veterans hospitals, like these facilities in Nashville, Tennessee, and San Francisco, California, where DAR volunteers spend thousands of hours visiting patients.
I heard you were handsome and debonair, and they weren't lying. What an honor to meet you.
That's too kind of me.
DAR members bring these veterans who fought for America gifts and a message from the heart.
I get to say to them, thank you. I'm thinking of you. We love you. We appreciate what you do. I don't think they hear that enough. I don't think we can ever say thank you enough. We're backed up by thousands of other DAR women who feel the same way. And that's the beauty of it. There's a power behind that. And the guys and the women feel it.
I appreciate it. It's pretty cherished. Shows people care. We're here for a reason. And it's nice to know that people think about it.
Veterans can depend on DAR members to give their time and money. The California DAR is donating Liberty carts like this one to transport disabled veterans around VA medical centers.
If we can show our troops by even small gestures that we support them, that we respect them, and we recognize what they've done, we've done a great deal.
We thank them very, very much.
Today's donors are also working to benefit our troops overseas through projects like So Much Comfort. This grassroots group, headquartered near Dayton, Ohio, adapts clothing for injured soldiers who've worn hospital gowns for months. It relies on volunteers like these Ohio daughters to help sew and ship thousands of garments.
It is something I can do. I can't go over there and hold their hands, but I can sew something to help them out and give them some dignity.
This gives them back their life. And what more can you do?
Whenever there is a need, today's daughters are there supporting America's military. The DAR Project Patriot Committee assembles care packages for wounded troops. Virginia daughter Bridget Ward knows how much these comfort items mean. She's delivered packages to fellow troops in Landstuhl, Germany.
I'm proud to be a member of the Armed Services of the United States, but I'm honored to be a daughter of the American Revolution.
And then there's Texas daughter Pamela Marshall. For this mother of 2 sons serving in combat areas overseas, DAR's patriotic mission is deeply personal.
As a mother, my heart is full. And as a citizen, I'm extremely grateful.
It is DAR support for education that gives thousands of young people hope for a better life. In places like Grant, Alabama, a mountain community with few opportunities until the DAR built a school here in 1924.
Ladies from all over the United States gave the funds to build those buildings. It's just an amazing story.
Today, the Kate Duncan Smith DAR School has 1,300 students in grades K through 12. KDS is one of 6 schools nationwide partially funded with DAR donations. These students not only get an education with an emphasis on patriotism, they also receive personal attention from DAR members.
They don't just teach you from the textbooks, but they help you with real life problems too.
It fills my heart with so much joy and gratefulness and pride in this school. I really can't express it, and I appreciate it so much because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
I would say thank you, DAR, because you have built not only a school, you have built a community that will continue to thrive for many generations and years to come.
KDS senior and musician Lindsay Atchley will be able to go to college thanks to the DAR.
It's inspired me, I guess, to encourage other people and to make a difference or just be a good citizen.
You can reach out and help a child to make a difference in their lives. They in turn will make a difference in the life of our country.
Today's daughters work with schools and literacy programs across the country. They recognize young people with scholarships and good citizenship awards. These New Jersey students are winners of the DAR annual essay contest, which helps children learn about history. DAR education programs also go far beyond the classroom.
Welcome to the Pink Ribbon House. You ladies are in for a special treat today.
Texas chapters gave tours of this designer-decorated Pink Ribbon House in Houston, owned by Royce Hassel and his wife Sylvia, a breast cancer survivor. The tours raised more than $500,000 for medical research.
We can help educate members and other people about the prevention and early detection for breast cancer, and just in general help them know more about how breast cancer can affect their lives.
To have them volunteer so many hours for free, it was a big deal. It was very touching to me.
The DAR is dedicated to preserving America's historic landmarks. Places like Meadow Garden in Augusta, Georgia. Built around 1790, this was the home of George Walton, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence.
It's important that we preserve this history and that we learn to appreciate our past, and it will hopefully give us courage and insight to move forward and to be better citizens.
Georgia Daughters not only maintain this property, but they've also launched a campaign to attract tours so more people can learn about George Walton's contributions.
And this is one way we can teach our children that there were men and women who were willing to sacrifice their homes and their lives and their property to give us the freedom that we have.
The DAR has preserved hundreds of local properties and placed markers at historical sites across the nation. Its library also preserves one of the largest collections of genealogy records. To join the DAR, women must trace their lineage to a Revolutionary War patriot, any soldier or civilian who aided the cause. But with the help of DAR genealogists and the Internet, getting started on the research isn't hard.
We discover new patriots every day, patriots of all backgrounds. And there are a lot of people here who are willing to help you find what you need.
You can go to them, ask them for anything. You can share. It's just beautiful.
For Tennessee daughter Pazetta Millette, it turned out to be a fascinating journey of discovery.
I was so excited, I couldn't sleep.
Not only did she find relatives she never knew, but she also uncovered family history lost for generations, history that can now be passed on to her children and grandchildren.
To see what your ancestor did, the contribution that they made, history just comes to life.
Today's daughters are not only preserving the past, they also care about America's future. These seal pups were rescued along the California coast. Marine mammal centers treat these injured animals and return them to the wild. It's one of many conservation programs the DAR supports. However they choose to serve, today's daughters are committed to their mission.
To me personally, it means making an impact in my community and being right there and just learning and growing. And it's just been an amazing experience in my life.
Like many women, Lindsay Whitty is balancing the demands of a busy life. She joined a chapter that meets on Saturdays to accommodate members' needs.
So everybody can find a niche and everybody can find their particular place that they fit in the best.
I just think as a young woman especially, you need an outlet for yourself. You need something to do that will make you feel good about yourself. You'll find good friends, and you'll be able to also give back.
I'm today's DAR.
I'm today's DAR.
I'm today's DAR.
For today's daughters, DAR membership offers so many rewards.
You will meet ladies who you will become friends with for the rest of your life. And you just make friends all over the United States and even all over the world.
Their friendship and knowing them will add a new layer and a new dimension to your life.
This is really what's kept me going. It's what keeps me young. It keeps me interested.
We have a lot of fun, let me tell you, we really do.
It fills your heart and soul. Every little pocket of your heart and soul can be filled by something that DAR offers you.
And to know that you are united with 100,000 plus women, it's incredible.
I'm today's DAR.
I'm today's DAR.
I'm today's DAR.
Today's DAR is carrying on its tradition of patriotism and service, giving its best to America.
We are fortunate to be Americans, and it is up to us to continue the legacy that our founders began and to make this a better country.
Hi, I'm Mike Passini, Community Affairs Director for Boulder Disposal. Citywide no-sort recycling is here. Boulder City now has expanded a citywide comprehensive no-sort recycling program. It is so simple to use and proven to increase recycling results virtually overnight. Welcome to the Boulder City Recycling Center, where thousands and thousands of tons of your recyclables are diverted from being buried in our landfill. You can now recycle at home, at work, and at school. The new recycling program is totally easy, so do your part. Aim for zero waste. How easy is it, you ask? You throw all your recyclables into one bin and you're done. And it's that simple. Just put your cart at the curb before 6 a.m. every Wednesday to ensure pickup.
Recycling is now available for single-family and multifamily residences, including apartments, mobile home parks, and RV parks.
The new program includes businesses, schools, and parks too. So no matter where you are in Boulder City, you can do your part.
The industry term for no-sort recycling is single stream. In its simplest terms, what used to be multiple streams of recyclables needed to be separated by the homeowner in advance of pickup. The no-sort method combines all the streams, paper, plastic, and glass, into one. All participants need to do is throw all recyclables into one container. And due to technological advances in recovering the materials, nearly all of the waste is effectively recycled. Be sure to review the No-Sort Recycling Guide brochure that came with your container to ensure proper material disposal. Recyclable guidelines are also indicated on the container lid.
Boulder City, with your continued commitment to recycling and our new BC Waste-Free No-Sort Recycling program, we are confident we can more than double the amount of recyclables kept out of our landfill. All homeowners can participate in the citywide BC Waste-Free Curbside Recycling program. Each homeowner will be provided with a green 65-gallon wheeled recycling bin.
All recycling will be collected on Wednesday every week. Place all recyclable materials in the green bin and wheel it to the curb. Remember, the green bin should have no food, yard waste, clothing, styrofoam, wax-coated cartons, or cups. It's very important to keep the green bin for our recyclables only. Once your green bins have been emptied, the recyclables are trucked to the Boulder City Recycling Center and unloaded.
It's here at the Boulder City Recycling Center where your recyclables are loaded into containers and trucked to the main recycling center in North Las Vegas. So no matter where you are in Boulder City, you can do your part. Aim for zero waste. For those residences requiring additional recycling bins, please email us at contact@bcwastefree.com or visit us online at bcwastefree.com. Improved recycling is vital to the future of our city and our planet. Aim for zero waste. I'm Mike Pacini, Community Affairs Director for Boulder Disposal, and together we'll make Boulder City cleaner and greener.
It's been said that everything we are or will ever be begins with a single drop of water, that each drop brings a sacred gift, and that as these drops accumulate to form streams, rivers, lakes, and seas, completing the cycle with returning rain and snow, life renews from year to year just as it does from generation to generation. Water means life for us all. Whoever you are, whatever you do, you and everyone you know or ever will know absolutely depends on a safe and reliable supply of clean, fresh water. Maintaining that supply of fresh water that we all depend on for our health and well-being in the face of ever-increasing threats from overuse and pollution requires constant vigilance. A new threat to our water supply has emerged in North America over the last 2 decades that has the potential to forever alter our ability to access and use those vital water resources. That threat is the rapidly spreading invasion of quagga and zebra mussels. And our attention and vigilance is needed now to safeguard our life-giving water resources for future generations.
Hello everyone, I'm Senator Dianne Feinstein, and during my time in the Senate, it's been a great privilege to work here in Washington and also back home in California on many issues that affect our critically important water resources. And I must tell you, nothing is more difficult. I've sponsored many bills to help make certain our waterways remain healthy and vibrant. But now we're facing one of the most difficult challenges we have ever experienced in the form of invasive quagga and zebra mussels that threaten the very nature of vital water resources. And so there's nothing to fight over. We all agree these little mussels may look harmless, but in the following program, you're going to see the devastating effect they've had on water supply, on recreation, on agriculture, power production, shipping, and wildlife. They have also cost water users in the eastern United States billions of dollars over the past 20 years. Today, these mussels are spreading west with potentially greater impacts. There's no question we've got to stop them from spreading. So this is something that all of us need to take very seriously. Whether or not we fish, boat, or use our great waterways for recreation, these little mussels are dynamite. They will affect you and your pocketbook if they become established. Now, it's not too late to prevent these invaders from spreading, but if we don't take action now, these mussels will spread from one area to the next as hitchhikers, on boats moved on trailers, and equipment moving between waters. If you look at one of these mussels and you figure it can produce 1 million additional mussels a year, you begin to know the kind of threat that they are. This program will give you the tools you need to play your part in stemming the tide of this invasion, to protect our economy, our ecology, and our great cultural heritage.
Zebra and quagga mussels are two closely related freshwater species in the genus Dreissena, which are native to an area of Eastern Europe and Western Asia commonly known as Eurasia, specifically the Black and Caspian Seas. In their native range, these species evolved in an ecosystem that included a complete set of biological and physical controls that kept them in balance with their environment, including predators, disease, and physical water quality conditions that limit their distribution and numbers. In the late 1700s, Dreissenid mussels spread to Western Europe when an elaborate system of freshwater canals were constructed to facilitate the transport of goods and services throughout Europe. Because this occurred before the peak of industrialization and included many of the biological and physical controls that kept them in balance in their native range, the impacts to Western Europe have been significant but manageable. Sometime in the mid-1900s, zebra and quagga mussels were introduced into the North American Great Lakes, most likely in the ballast water of a cargo ship traveling from a European freshwater port. The first reported finding of Dreissenid mussels in North America occurred when zebra mussels were found in Lake St. Clair in 1988. During the following decade, zebra mussels spread rapidly, principally by downstream larval drift, but also on watercraft and equipment, to infest nearly every waterway connected to the Great Lakes, including the Mississippi and St. Lawrence rivers. And by the late 1990s, they were found in 23 states and 2 Canadian provinces, all east of the 100th meridian. Also in the late 1900s and early 2000s, a secondary invasion occurred when quagga mussels, which had represented only a small percentage of the mussel population before then, began to dramatically expand and by 2010 nearly completely dominate the Dreissenid mussel populations of the upper Great Lakes. Since then, they have continued to expand their range, primarily by hitchhiking on trailered watercraft and equipment moving between watersheds. But it wasn't until 2007 that Dreissenid mussels were found west of the 100th meridian, when quagga mussels were found in Lake Mead, and subsequently in downstream Colorado River impoundments and all connected waterways of the Colorado and Arizona aqueduct systems. In January of 2008, zebra mussels were found in San Justo Reservoir in central California, and 2 adult zebra mussels were collected at Pueblo Reservoir in Colorado. However, while zebra mussels have become well established in San Justo, no additional adults and only a few villagers have subsequently been found in Pueblo Reservoir. Zebra and quagga mussels are relatively small freshwater mussels, ranging in size from just a couple of millimeters to a maximum size of about 5 centimeters, typically reaching sexual maturity at about 2 centimeters in length. While these mussels get their common name from the alternating dark and light bands that are often found on the outside of the shell, the pattern and coloration of both zebra and quagga mussels varies widely, often exhibiting few or no stripes at all. Both quagga and zebra mussels are similar in appearance and share the most distinguishing characteristic: the presence of byssal threads that are used to attach to any object of their liking. No other freshwater mussel in North America has byssal threads. The difference in appearance between the mussels has mostly to do with the shape and orientation of the two halves of the shell. Zebra mussels have a pronounced D shape, while quagga mussels have a more rounded shape and overlapping shell edge. This difference is not important. If you find any small attached mussel in freshwater, it spells trouble and should be reported immediately. Both mussel species reach sexual maturity at about 1 year of age, sooner in warmer and more productive waters. A single female mussel is capable of producing up to 1 million eggs a year with multiple spawnings. Fertilization is external and usually begins when water temperatures reach the low 50s. Fertilized eggs become free-floating planktonic larvae called veligers and remain in that state for 2 to 5 weeks while they accumulate calcium and develop a shell before settling on suitable substrate. Once settled, mussels are able to detach their byssal threads and move to find better conditions before settling semi-permanently. Zebra mussels prefer to attach to hard substrate, while quagga mussels do very well settling on soft sand or silt bottoms as well. Zebra mussels prefer near-shore areas in up to 100 feet of water, while quagga mussels are also found in very deep offshore areas to more than 400 feet. The typical lifespan for both species is 4 to 5 years, though individual zebra mussels have been found to live for more than 10 years in some cold water lakes. Dreissenid mussels are filter feeders, filtering up to a liter of water per adult mussel per day, selectively consuming desirable phytoplankton that would otherwise be used by important game and food fish, while avoiding less desirable plankton species, including certain types of blue-green algae, and then depositing waste and filtered sediment as pseudofeces to the bottom. Since Dreissenid mussels can occur at densities of up to 100,000 or more per square meter in some waterways, this action completely transforms the ecosystem of the host water body. Zebra and quagga mussels can have far-reaching and devastating impacts to water supply, power production, recreation, fish and wildlife, shipping and navigation, and other important economic, cultural, and ecological resources. It's been estimated that upwards of $5 billion have been spent mitigating the impacts of Dreissenid mussels on water delivery infrastructure in North America since they were first found in the Great Lakes in 1988. And while no comprehensive economic analysis has been done to calculate the total cost of this invasion on the ecology and economy as a whole, most experts agree that its true economic impact is probably several times that amount. This is an issue that touches everyone, not just boaters. If mussels become established in your area, it will likely result in increased fees and taxes, higher utility and food costs, severe boating, swimming, and fishing restrictions, increased maintenance costs passed on to consumers, lower waterfront property values, and economic hardship for local businesses that service water-based recreation.
It's imperative that we understand that as a natural resource, water is the basis for what we have here. Not only the recreation, but our farming in the south, the fisheries that we have, tremendous fisheries in Idaho, and in the entire Northwest. And this is not an issue that we can look the other way at. It's actually, this is the last stand.
Well, as we've seen zebra mussels enter our state and spread within our state, there's been a change in attitude in how we look at things, where at first people just thought it was limited and localized sort of impact, but as we've seen in Kansas, it is protected from the impacts of zebra mussels or other aquatic nuisance species.
What we've shown is that the productivity in Lakes Michigan and Huron are about 80% below what they were prior to the zebra and the quagga mussels coming in. And in fact, productivity and the phosphorus levels in the lakes are lowest that we have ever seen since we've started making the measurements.
So the ability of zebra and quagga mussels to completely transform aquatic habitats would be a huge problem for just even fish passage alone, changing the fish passage facilities to the point that they're not usable by these fish, changing the habitat so that the food that they depend on is no longer available. Any one of those could be devastating for our native salmon and steelhead.
The one thing that really frustrates me the most, and the tribes as well, is that the threat of these mussels now represents a very large black cloud hanging over the basin. We've had tremendous success in recent years with resurgence in our salmon runs. We have great programs on the ground to restore habitat, but all that could be for naught if mussels find their way in and colonize the Columbia River system.
Perhaps the best way to understand the impacts that zebra and quagga mussels can have on the ecosystem is to look at the changes that have occurred in the Great Lakes, where dry-scented mussels first appeared more than 20 years ago.
Zebra mussels were the first dry-scented mussel into the Great Lakes, and actually they became established in the 1980s. Particularly, I think, first Lake St. Clair, Western Lake Erie was just huge populations were established. And then they spread throughout the rest of the lakes. In Lake Michigan, zebra mussels were established in the early 1990s, and by the late 1990s had large populations. But in the upper lakes, Lakes Michigan, Lake Huron particularly, zebra mussels were primarily found around the edges of the lake because they need warm water to reproduce and they need hard substrate. And that's limited in southern Lake Michigan and the lake. So they had basically a limited distribution. Well, in the late 1990s, quagga mussels became established in Lake Michigan and Lake Huron, and they just basically took over. Now they're cold water adapted and can grow on soft substrates, so perfectly adapted for these cold water deep systems. And so they basically became abundant all the way across the lake, not just in a nearshore ring. So you could go from Lake Muskegon, where we are here, across to Milwaukee 80 miles and right now almost walk on a carpet of quagga mussels.
In the nearshore waters, the zebra mussels aren't just taking things out of the water column, but they're in a way intercepting things before they get offshore. So we have what's considered a nearshore shunt of nutrients coming from the shoreline, coming from rivers that get trapped by the zebra mussels and effectively recycled in that nearshore area. So in many nearshore areas, productivity is actually increasing. You're getting more macrophyte growth, getting more bacteria that cause beach closures.
The increase of these harmful algal bloom has been directly linked to the selective filtration of dry-scenids. These dry-scenids process a lot of water, whether it's quagga mussels or zebra mussels. And as they do, these big, large nuisance colonies, these harmful algae like Microcystis cyanobacteria, are thrown out as pseudofeces. And so over time, these mussels remove all the desirable algae, and they really enhance the undesirable algae, the harmful algal bloom, so their abundance increases tremendously.
The changes that they cause are not going away. They have caused, structural, physical changes in the lake bottom and water column where nutrients are in the system. So their changes are profound and likely to last a long time because of that physical change component.
In the 1980s or 90s, if you would lower this white disc down to the bottom, you would see it down about 20 feet, then it would disappear. Well, this past couple springs, we have put this thing down over 100 feet below the surface, and you can still see it. In fact, like I said, some of the clearest fresh water on the planet was in Lake Michigan the last couple springs.
One of the consequences of this clearer water is that a lot of this productivity is going into the bottom and it's coming up on shore, causing great problems in some of the areas in Lake Erie, but also in the northern part of Lake Michigan and places that are typically thought of being quite pristine.
The fisheries impact of the dry-scenids on the Great Lakes obviously is mixed. Some species have done well, some have not. But either directly or indirectly, the dry-scenid expansion has been linked to the collapse of salmon in Lake Huron and the demise of many sport fish, particularly, as you might expect, those that are dependent on planktonic food. I don't think anyone should argue that or would believe that if you have these huge mussel populations, our fisheries overall is going to be beneficial. There are small segments that might do better, but overall it's going to be not good, and that's the problem. Because what you're doing is you're just putting most of that carbon energy into mussels, which you'd like to put into fisheries. In Lake Michigan, the estimate right now is that there's 4 times as much dry-scenid biomass as there is fish biomass. And that's the problem.
It's removing the food source for these wonderful fisheries that we have here in the Great Lakes. I mean, the salmon fishery and the lake trout fisheries in Lake Michigan and Lake Huron are wonderful. And there's a great economic base for that, great recreational fishing associated with it. There's no food left for those fish.
Some of the most troubling and costly impacts that dry-scented mussels have are those that affect our water supply and the infrastructure used to move water from its source to the point where it is used, including water diversion, conveyance, and delivery systems of all types and sizes. Once established, quagga and zebra mussels use their byssal threads to attach to trash racks, diversion screens, canals, pump stations, pipes, and terminal fixtures like sprinkler heads, storage tanks, and fire suppression systems, building up in ever-increasing layers that, if left unchecked, eventually restrict or completely shut off the flow of water, burning out pumps and blowing out screens and filters needed to divert and deliver drinking, industrial, and irrigation water.
From the time that we realized that we had a quagga mussel infestation in the lake until the time we actually got the chlorine turned on, we began to have infestation in our infrastructure. We were taking apart small lines that go to instrumentation and finding that there were quagga in there. We were doing some physical inspections just as a result of changing out pipes and pumps, and we found them in that 5-mile raw water line over to the River Mountains Water Treatment Facility. So we know that had we not put something in place to control this infestation, that we would have quite a bit of problem in our infrastructure, and that could cause us to go anywhere from it being a nuisance in some parts of our pipeline to potentially shutting off the water supplies. We're looking somewhere in the $10 to $15 million range just to run the pipeline from where the intake is being drilled all the way out to the point of intake.
One of the biggest concerns with older facilities is they put fire protection systems in. And if you have a quagga mussel infestation, these fire protections are at risk for biofouling. We see them in every single water passage in the dam that uses raw water. HVAC systems, cooling water systems again.
And then the Salt River Reservoir system feeds into our canal system, which has an arterial branching canals throughout the Phoenix metropolitan area, and that's what delivers the water to the water users, and that is majority agricultural use, residential use, and then the cities. So if the mussels get in, they can impact the dams, they can impact recreation, and they can also impact our delivery system and the canal system.
This is the Columbia Basin project within the Bureau of Reclamation, a fairly large reclamation project based on water that we take out of the Columbia River. It's one of the larger projects that the Bureau of Reclamation has. We're currently irrigating about 671,000 acres in the basin. We produce anywhere from 60 to 80 major crops in any given year. Potatoes being one of the biggest things that we do, an awful lot of alfalfa. We're one of the largest producing areas for apples in the world. The concerns that the Bureau of Reclamation has with establishment of the mussels in this area are not so much in a big canal like this, but in the much smaller canals that we use to get water out of the big canals to all the farmlands. Those things keep getting smaller and smaller.
Quagga and zebra mussels also cause some secondary effects on water delivery systems. Their filter feeding activity increases water clarity, light penetration, and nutrient transfer to the bottom that causes increased aquatic plant growth. In some cases, that increased nuisance plant growth has caused major problems to water intake and screening structures. Another problem associated with dry-scented mussels is the increase in harmful blue-green algae that can create taste and odor problems for drinking water supplies.
We are the major water supply for the city of Phoenix and the city of Tucson. Blue-green algae would be a very bad thing for those municipal treatment plants because they would have to deal with the taste and odor issues from the blue-green algae.
We've already seen the dramatic impacts that quagga and zebra mussels can have on the food web in aquatic ecosystems, completely re-engineering plant and animal communities and nutrient levels. Those changes can result in major impacts to commercially and recreationally important fish species and diminish overall fish abundance, size, growth rates, fishing opportunity, and catch rates.
Well, as the quagga mussels establish themselves offshore, in these high densities offshore, the round gobies moved offshore, and they've moved out now to 450, 500 feet, have large populations. They just followed their food out, okay? And they're, like I said, the latest estimate is somewhere between 10 to 20% of the fish biomass in Lake Michigan now is round gobies, just phenomenal. So not only do you have more drycenids in all fish, the one fish you got is one that people don't really even like that much. Because it's expanding, it has definitely competed with the yellow perch, and the yellow perch is one of the primed fish around here.
We have documented a decrease in the abundance of some fish species. We have documented a decrease in body condition of some of our sport fisheries. And so zebra mussels are not a good thing for fishermen.
Hatchery systems are also susceptible to drycenid mussels. When hatcheries become infested, fish production is either terminated or severely curtailed, resulting in a major reduction in the number and distribution of game fish available regionally.
Well, we'd fully renovated this facility for trout production at a cost of about over $10 million. Shortly after mussels were discovered in Lake Mead in early 2007, we found them here at the hatchery. And at that point, we realized that the water supply that we had was infested with mussel veligers as well as other life stages. And we also had a full load of trout here at the hatchery, a full production. We had to get rid of those fish because of the potential of transporting mussels from the facility. Those fish could not be put anywhere but Lake Mead and Lake Mojave, and then shut the facility down completely and did a thorough cleaning. This facility was designed to plug a big hole in our statewide trout production for sport fishing, and that represented, a third to almost a half of our planned statewide production for sport angling. So taking this facility off the table was a very significant impact, and we just have not had any way to replace that.
In addition, these invasive mussels promote the growth of nuisance and toxic algae populations that can affect swimming, boating, and other forms of water-dependent recreation. Colonies of living mussels and windrows of dead mussels can cover the lake bottom and beaches, making recreational use of these areas difficult, undesirable, and dangerous because of their sharp-edged shells.
Lyngbia on the bottom will accumulate throughout the season. By August, there are places where you will find a fair carpet of it on the bottom. Then later on in the fall, what has happened is that washes up on shore and can get meter-deep accumulations of it in some places, depending on how the wind's blowing. So it's very unaesthetic, and homeowners and people that use the shoreline really don't like it.
Recreational boaters are also affected when mussels attach to the exterior surfaces of watercraft and clog internal engine cooling, raw water storage, and circulation systems, resulting in increased maintenance, operation, and repair costs.
I think right now the biggest issue we have with the quaggas is people absolutely wanting to protect their boats. We've taken over the hydro hoist business. People want to have their boats lifted out of the water to keep the maintenance down on them.
They clog up all the water intakes into the drives, and when that happens, the impellers get ate up and you'll lose a motor in a heartbeat.
And it's not only fisheries, beaches, and boats that are affected. Recreational docks, boat lifts, and other equipment important to recreational boaters like navigation and mooring buoys can also become encrusted with quagga and zebra mussels, creating increased maintenance problems and decreasing the effective life of this equipment, making it difficult on commercial and recreational boaters alike.
As a marina operator, we see zebra mussels forming on every structure in the marina. They form underwater, around places where people recreate. Increased cost to us as far as maintenance goes, and the maintenance of all the marine equipment, cost and time. It just goes on and on and on.
The cost if we were infested by zebra mussels, probably the cost to maintain things would be a concern. Some other areas that not only with the marina here, but other areas of the lake that the Clay County takes care of. The golf course operates out of here. They have a water intake. If this lake was ever infested with the zebra mussels, we would definitely lose some traffic. It would scare people away if there was an area lake that was, within 30 or 40 miles that did not have them. We would probably lose a few to those. I would hope not, because I obviously don't want to lose any of our customers or any of our slip holders, but I definitely think some would choose to go another area if their boats were being affected by the lake quality.
Because Lake Mead is a reservoir and the lake levels do fluctuate, one of the impacts to our visitors is also visitor safety. We can typically see as the lake levels go down, mats of quagga mussels, and that increases calls to our rangers for medical services, people cutting their feet.
All of these recreational impacts have very significant negative effects on water-dependent businesses, local economies, and waterfront property values.
The health of the ecosystem in Lake Pend Oreille is key to the economy here, and invasive mussels would change everything, and I think it would leave our economy pretty well damaged.
Our largest issues that came about after the zebra mussel find was the questions, the scare. Once the word got out, it spread pretty quickly that that all of a sudden Smithville Lake had zebra mussels.
All power production facilities rely on water. Hydropower generating facilities use water to rotate turbines. Coal-fired and nuclear power plants require water to cool power generating equipment and for a variety of other critical functions, including fire suppression. Most power generation facilities in North America use water taken directly from lakes, reservoirs, or rivers. When those water sources become infested with Dreissenid mussels, those operations are threatened. Maintaining a reliable water supply to these facilities when mussels are present requires elaborate and expensive treatment systems and near constant maintenance.
Where a coal-fired power plant has surface water only, a nuclear power plant has essential surface water that is important for the cooling of the safety-related systems. We currently treat circ water for 2 hours a day, and we treat surface water for 6 hours a day, and those chemical costs right now are about $100,000 a year. When we go to 22 hours per day due to zebra mussels, that chemical cost will double.
If these invasive mussels were to get in or established, the costs at this project would be significant. The costs would likely affect our operation and maintenance. Primarily our maintenance would increase. Those costs would have to be passed on to the public in the form of rate increases.
So looking at industry sources as far as increases for retrofitting dams, hydroelectric facilities that have zebra quagga mussels, it ranges from $1,000 to $2,000 per megawatt. So for example, here at the Portland District, if we look at John Day, the Dalles, and Bonneville dams, we're looking at around a $5 to $10 million increase.
We now know about the effects that quagga and zebra mussels can have on the ecosystem and how those effects can ruin recreational, commercial, and subsistence fishing. But these invasive mussels can also adversely impact other fish and wildlife resources in a variety of less obvious ways. The link between the presence of Dreissenid mussels and the increase in toxic algae blooms in the Great Lakes has been well documented. In the last decade, these toxic algae blooms have been responsible for killing tens of thousands of diving ducks annually.
Because of the cladophora and the harmful algal blooms and the mussels, we have avian botulism going through the roof in many parts. Dead birds all over loons in northern parts of the lake, all attributed to the mussels. So it's really been a mess. And I think all of us would say not a good mess, the mussels. I mean, to the people of the West, you do not want these in your lake, period. End of story.
Zebra mussels have also had devastating impacts on native mussel populations in the major river system of the eastern and central areas of North America. Another major effect of a Dreissenid mussel invasion in the western U.S. would be the impact that they could have on salmon and steelhead fish passage in large river systems. Mussels attached to fish ladders used by adults and bypass systems for moving juvenile fish downstream would increase mortality, possibly to the level that would curtail commercial, tribal, and recreational fishing opportunity and increase the number of threatened and endangered fish runs.
Mussel impacts to juvenile fish passage systems could start right from the beginning, looking at the submersible traveling screens. There's some additional screens that could be impacted. The bypass systems, the velocity is low enough that we could have settlement of veligers into these systems, as well as down here at the juvenile fish facility. The water is slow enough that we could have some impacts here. One of the concerns with invasive mussels for our juvenile bypass systems is anywhere that these mussels could attach that come in contact with juvenile fish, they are very sensitive to any rough edges. These sharp shells could cause severe descaling of the juvenile smolts passing the dam. So most adult fish that bypass Bonneville Dam through the fish ladder system go through a small opening at the base of these concrete weirs that we're looking at. So the sharp edges of these mussels can get in these orifice openings or small openings and cause some severe cutting and injury to the adult fish passing those areas.
Young salmon and steelhead migrate through the Columbia River system through a series of bypasses and fishways which have been built at taxpayer expense for many millions of dollars, probably billions of dollars. And these bypass systems are not redundant. They're one-way valves, they're one-way plates, they're tubes that are lined just steel pipes, plastic pipes. And if zebra mussels were to attach on the insides of these pipes and on these screens, the young salmon would either be smashed against the screens or cut up in the pipes, or even just injured enough that predators like birds and predaceous fishes could then find them easier prey.
Another lesser-known impact of Dreissenid mussels is the effect they can have on shipping and navigation, including transportation locks and barge traffic. By attaching to the surface of locks and barges, zebra and quagga mussels accelerate the corrosive process and reduce their effective life. In addition, mussels encrusting the hulls of ships and barges plying North America's inland waterways cause increased drag and results in reducing speed and fuel efficiency. All of these impacts result in more money spent on operation, maintenance, and replacement, and when taken together can cost millions, if not billions of dollars over time.
So another potential impact at the facility in the Columbia River Basin is the navigation and our lock systems. So potentially we could get zebra mussels affecting the floating mooring bits. They could affect seals along the gates that would also impact our navigation system. On average, I believe we pass around 10 million metric tons of cargo through the lock system annually.
Our cultural heritage is rich and diverse. It values and celebrates the wealth of our abundant natural resources, ingenuity, heart, active living, independence, and the great outdoors. It is closely tied to land and water resources and their sustainable use. And for indigenous peoples of North America, water, wildlife, and fishing are synonymous with life itself. Quagga and zebra mussels have the power to severely alter much of our sacred heritage for the foreseeable future if we collectively fail to meet the challenge to prevent any further spread of these insidious invasives.
In addition to impact from a natural perspective, there's an economic, cultural, and social impacts that salmon losses would mean to the tribes and the people of the Columbia River Basin. The tribes have been working very, very diligently over the last 30 to 40 years to bring salmon back. We're starting to see some benefits of that. We're making headway.
We don't fish at times during seasons to make sure that there's enough fish that go through to sustain this, at least on a ceremonial level or a subsistence level for the next year.
The loss of these fish from mussel impacts would be tremendous. Many of the tribal members depend on fish for their living. They depend on fish for cultural subsistence, and they depend upon these salmon as a religious item. Salmon are the primary food at births, funerals, name givings, and without these fish available, these traditions are in peril.
The key to preventing quagga and zebra mussels from expanding their range and disastrous impacts throughout North America is aggressive action. There should be no doubt that the benefits from preventing their spread far outweigh the costs of implementing comprehensive prevention programs that include outreach education, watercraft interception, early detection, and rapid response planning elements. Make no mistake, this is a preventable disaster, provided we are willing to act decisively and work cooperatively.
So the real problem with this problem is that there's very little we can do about it now. Once the zebra mussels and the quagga mussels have come into our system and have taken over in this sense, there's very little we can do about it. So the only thing we could have done is prevent them from coming in the first place.
9 out of the 10 lakes that we have infested in the state of Kansas could have been prevented. Someone brought zebra mussels to each one of those lakes. It was not through natural spread. And that's the interesting thing about zebra mussels. This spread is preventable. It's not inevitable that these will be in every lake across the country. It just depends on how much resources we're willing to dedicate to this issue.
One of the critical issues that the general public can get involved with on prevention of zebra and quagga mussels is taking actions themselves. This means cleaning, draining, and drying your boats. Government agencies do not have enough money to do everything that is necessary to prevent quagga and zebra mussels from spreading in the West. Therefore, all citizens, especially those that use recreational watercraft, fishermen, boaters, these folks have got to be on board and doing everything they can to stop the spread.
We're all anxious to get in the water. When we're on our way to go fishing, that's all that we have on our minds. But what we need to keep in mind, what needs to be top of mind, is that these fisheries are worth preserving and they're worth protecting. And once these mussels invade our waters, they're going to be everywhere. So spending a small amount of money right now on prevention is worth a pound of cure later. And so the inconvenience today is well worth preserving a fishery we might not have tomorrow.
All I can say is don't move a mussel, because they multiply so fast, and prevention is going to be costing you way less than it would cost if you're going to have to keep up with the maintenance, and we've definitely seen that.
There's only so much money available through these projects, and so we need volunteerism. We can't emphasize that enough. It's vital that we have that. So anybody that lives out there on a lake, or they recreate or they use those systems, join your local lake association and participate and encourage them to
supply of fresh water. It's vitally important that the limited resources available to combat the mussel problem in North America be maximized. To accomplish that, all agencies and organizations involved in the battle must coordinate, communicate, and cooperate to the greatest extent possible.
So the Fish and Wildlife Service largely plays a coordination role in zebra and quagga mussel management in the West, and that role is really important because we have limited resources and so many different avenues that require work for preventing zebra mussel invasion, early detection, developing rapid response capacity, and it's critical that states, other federal agencies, tribes, the private sector are all working together and all on the same page.
If you're a boater, seaplane operator, or water-based equipment, responsibility to thoroughly clean, drain, and dry your watercraft and equipment between uses. If you're a water resource manager, you need to implement prevention programs to safeguard those resources and encourage and support your neighbors to do the same. And even if you're only a food, water, and power consumer, you need to encourage and support Dreissenid mussel prevention and control efforts through your elected representatives. Minimizing the impact of these invaders on our lives and pocketbooks will require a team effort. Please do your part and stop aquatic hitchhikers.
City died on April 9th, 2015 as a result of injuries sustained in a motor vehicle accident. Sophia grew up with her mother, LaDonna Hollifield, as well as her two brothers. Stephen Edward Smith Jr. at the age of 17, born on March 18th. Chad Jacob Anderson, 17 years young, born November 5th, 1997. Mac Waldo died unexpectedly in a car accident on April 9th, 2015. July 6th, 1998, died April 10th, 2015 from a fatal car accident. God bless her, for she is in a better place, a place where the night sky will last, where angels could play.
911, the address of your emergency. Hi. There's been an accident. Okay, what's the location? I'm at the high school and there's blood everywhere and my friend's on the front and I don't know if she's breathing. All right, I need you to calm down for a minute. How many people are involved? I don't know. I can at least see like 3. Okay, how many cars were involved? There are only 2, but you need to hurry. I don't know if she's alive still. All right, I want you just to hang on the phone. I'm dispatching crews. Don't hang up. Okay, please hurry.
There's just time. So is it wrong to dance this line? If your heart was full of love, could you give it up? 'Cause what about angels? They will come, they will go, make us special. Don't give me up. Don't give me up. How unfair, it's just our love. Found something real that's out of touch. But if you'd say to let it go, 'cause what about angels? They will come, they will go, make us special. Don't give me up. Don't give me up. 'Cause what about angels? They will come, they will go, make us special. It's not about angels, angels.
All I want is nothing more, to hear you knocking at my door. 'Cause if I could see your face once more, I could die a happy man, I'm sure. When you said your last goodbye, I died a little bit inside.
She's doing very stable. She's very stable at this time. She's had some serious injuries, as you can see. She has a broken cervical vertebrae, neck fracture, and this requires some surgery to stabilize it.
Massive head trauma. It looks like she's got brain exposed under.
It looks like she's in V-fib. She's not responding.
Yeah, I got no pulses at all.
No pulse at all?
None. Asystole on the monitor.
Okay. Followed all the protocols. And I'm sorry to say that she didn't respond to any of those treatments. And she has passed away. Okay.
I don't know why they took her. Why they took my baby.
I love you, Samantha. And you know where I'll see you someday. In heaven. I'm so sorry. My life will never be the same with Samantha gone.
You took my soul and wiped it clean.
Goodbye.
I don't know how to go on. I don't know how to go on.
So open your eyes and see the way our horizons meet, and all of the lights will lead into the night with me. And I know these skies will bleed, but both of our hearts believe. All of these stars will guide us home. I can hear your heart on the radio. They're playing chasing cars, and I thought of us. Back to the time you were lying next to me. I looked across and fell in love. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Okay, we'll call the case State of Nevada versus Kayla McInnes. Are we ready for sentencing, counsel?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Consequently, having reviewed the papers, reports filed with respect to this case, I find you guilty of the offense and sentence you to 10 years for the death of Wyatt Tillman, 10 years for the death of Samantha Hansen as a result of your driving impaired, sentence you to 10 years in prison on each count, though that sentence to run concurrent. You are now released from the court into the custody of the Nevada State Department of Prisons.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Hello, Trudy? Yes. Officer Blackmore, Boulder City Police. May I come in? There was an accident at the high school. She was there, and unfortunately, she did not make it.
I'm Pastor Sandy Johnson, and I just wanted to say how sorry we are to be here this morning. If there's anything that I can do, I know this is a shock. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Very sorry about your loss.
Thank you.
Where's your husband? Would he come out for you?
Chris?
Chris? My name's Officer Blackmore. I just told your wife your son Wyatt was involved in a car accident at the Boulder City High School. Unfortunately, he did not make it.
Their son is safe with you. Lord, we just ask that you would give them the strength for the days ahead.
hearing aid. Okay, G2. On the old Sism's rail it was midnight. Carmela was strong on his mind because of the life he had chosen. Carmela had left him behind. Too long he had been a bandito. Carmela had left him alone. But today someone brought him a message. She had been seen in old San Antonio. Across the horizon side of Waco. Ride hard and I'll make it by dawn. Across the horizon side of Waco. I'm safe when I reach San Antonio. He glanced back over his shoulders. Posse was nowhere in sight. It said for Camilla to meet him on the banks of the Brazos tonight. She was waiting and he kept the promise he'd made such a long time ago. As he dropped the guns that she hated in the muddy Brazos below. Then the night came alive with gunfire. He knew that at last it'd been found. As the ranger's badges shone brightly, El Bandito lay on the ground. Carmela knew he was dying, and all of her dreams were in vain. As she kissed his lips for the last time, she heard him whisper again. Cross the bridal side of Waco. Ride hard and I'll make it by dawn. Cross the bridal side of Waco. I'm safe when I reach San Antonio. I'm safe when I reach San Antonio. Delta Corps.
He looked down into her brown eyes, said, say a prayer for me. She threw her arms around him, whispered, God will keep us free. They could hear the riders coming, said, this is my last fight. If they take me back to Texas, they won't take me back alive. 7 Spanish angels at the altar of the sun. They were praying for the lovers in the valley of the gun. When the battle stopped and the smoke cleared, there was thunder from the throne. 7 Spanish angels took another angel home. She reached down and picked that gun up, laid smoking in his hand. Said, Father, please forgive me. I can't make it without my man. She knew that gun was empty. She knew she again, everybody. There were 7 Spanish angels at the altar of the sun. They were praying for the lovers in the valley of the gun. When the battle stopped and the smoke cleared, there was thunder from the throne. 7 Spanish angels took another angel home. 7 Spanish angels took another angel home. Thank you much, Cowboy Chuck from Boulder City.
Oh, I'm thinking tonight of my blue, who is sailing far over the sea. Yeah, I'm thinking tonight of her, and I wonder if she thinks of me. Could have been better for us both had we met. And this wide wicked never met. All the pleasure we both seem to get. I'm sure love I'll forget. Oh, you told me once, dear, that you loved me. You said that we never would part. But a link in the chain has been broken, leaving me with his aching heart. Oh, I'm thinking tonight of my bride, who is sailing over the sea. Yeah, I'm thinking tonight of her, and I wonder if she thinks of me. When the cold grave shall enclose me, will you come, dear, and shed just one tear? Will you say to the strangers all around, a poor heart you have broken lies here? Yes, I'm thinking tonight of my wife, who is sailing far over the sea. Yeah, I'm thinking tonight of her, and I wonder if she thinks of me. Oh yeah. That one? We can do that. And me? And me? What's it? Branded Man and B. Delta, Branded Man. I'd like to hold my head up and be proud of who I am, but they won't let my secrets go untold. I paid the debt I owed them, and they're still not satisfied. Now I'm a branded man out of the cold. When they
second to get into your depot.
Yeah, I figured that.
What we got there?
Decoy. He said, I love you till I die. She told him, you'll forget in time. As the years went slowly by, she still preyed upon his mind. Had some pictures by his bed, dated 1962. He had underlined in red every single I love you. He said, I love you till I die. She told him, you'll forget in time. As the years went slowly by, she still preyed upon his mind. Had a picture on his wall, went half crazy now and then. He still loved her through it all, hoping she'd come back again. Everybody. He said, I love you till I die. She told him, you'll forget in time. As the years went slowly by, she still preyed upon his mind. He said, I love you till I die. She told him, you'll forget in time. As the years went slowly by, she still preyed upon his mind. Thank you much. Cowboy Chuck.
Cowboy Chuck. All right.
She's not ready yet.
I'm ready.
Oh. Yeah, we've been recording all along. So.
Have I told you lately I love you? Could I tell you once again somehow? Have I told from my heart and soul how I adore you? Well, darling, I'm telling you now. My heart would break till it
Today I passed you on the street, and my heart fell at your feet. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Somebody else stood by your side, and you look so satisfied. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. A picture from the past comes slowly stealing. As I brushed your arm, I walked so close to you. Suddenly I got the old time feeling. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Mr. D. It's hard to know another's lips will kiss you and hold you the way I used to do. Heaven only knows how much I miss you. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. I passed you on the street, and my heart fell at your feet. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Somebody else stood by your side, and you look so satisfied. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Thank you much, Cowboy Chuck.
Come on down the mountain, Katy Day. Come on down the mountain, Katy. And here is calling Katy Day. We want to cruise the good old mountain dew.
I mess this one up, I'm out of here.
Oh, Bella Ball's good.
A vagabond dreamer, a rhymer and singer, singing to no one and nowhere to really belong. Met a beautiful lady up her southern belle of like Scarlett no one but wanted me along. But I'll never forget you and love you in spite of your fault. The good and the bad, I want to remember it all. I did the new dance and you did your Tennessee walk. But the party's all over, I came uninvited. I'm leaving and taking the bell of the ball. There'll always be someone, I guess that's the way it should be. I guess I should know that someone used to be me. They'll gather around us suddenly alone, say, at the feet of the lady, our lovers without any name. But I'll never forget you and love you in spite of your fault. The good and the bad, I want to remember it all. I did a new dance and you did your Tennessee walk. But the party's all over, I came uninvited. I'm leaving and taking the bell of the ball. I'm leaving and taking the bell of the ball.
Okay.
Take two. Huh?
Doing G, guys.
That's
Webb
me.
Pierceman, walking a dog. Ready? Oh, I'm walking the dog, and I'm never blue. I'm walking the dog, ain't thinking about you. I don't need no one, to tie me down. I'm walking the dog, I'm painting the town. Such an easy life I never knew until that day that I left you. I'm a carefree man that's seen the light. I'm walking the dog all the day and all night. Well, I'm full of strength, I just can't grow old. I got a one-track mind, so I've been told. But I'm fancy free, I don't worry no how. I'm a walking the dog, all alone around. Such an easy life I never knew until that day that I left you. Well, I'm a carefree
seen the light, and I'm a walking the dog all the day and all night.
Woo! Okay, what are we playing?
We're playing Don't Hurt to Hurt Somebody.
Oh.
Nico.
Sometimes I feel the weight of the past break in my mind. I know it's gone for good, makes me wanna cry. Is this all we get to keep as the years go strolling by? Just a memory of all the days gone by. Everybody help. Oh, you're always in my heart, and you're often on my mind. Your love will never die, long as I'm alive. It seems so sad to me that we never said goodbye. I guess it never hurts to hurt sometimes. Hold on to the moment, but time won't let you stay. For every step you take, you lose something along the way. Is this all we get to keep as the years go strolling by? Just a memory of all the days gone by. Oh, you're always in my heart, and you're often on my mind. Your love will never die, as long as I'm alive. Oh, it seems so sad to me that we never said goodbye. I guess it never hurts to hurt sometimes. Oh, I guess it never hurts to hurt sometimes.
Yeah.
How about ya?
That's my song. Boulder, so that's coming. A, Z, and E.
Okay. Come on, D-W, let's hear it.
This one's
I got a wife.
walking in the Blue Ridge with you, junior sisters. Ready? I held your hand in San Francisco, kissed your lips in New Orleans. We've been up north and way out west, and all points in between. But home is where the heart is, and my heart is in these hills, and it always leads me back, and I know it always will. Walking in the Blue Ridge, oh, what a sight to see. Roaming through the mountains, each step of memory. I've been all around this wide world. Still my favorite thing to do is walking in the Blue Ridge with you. Shenandoah down to Georgia, a picture so serene. Caroline simply divine, like strolling through a dream. Each stroke upon the canvas, a master's work of art. We go up the hills and down the valleys, hand in hand, and step of them away. I've been all around this wide world. Still my favorite thing to do is walking in the Blue River. Now walking in the Blue River.
Yeehaw! Very good. Well, Chuck wanted this song, so I wrote it up for him, and I'm going to see if I can do it today. If I can't, I'll just shut it. D for Delta. Driftwood on the river.
On the sea.
Ernest Tubb. I'm just driftwood on the river, floating down the tide. I don't care where this whole river carries me. I keep drifting just because my heart is broken inside. And I'm tired of wishing for what cannot be. I may meet some bit of driftwood lost the same as I. Share a handshake and a tender tear or two. But it's always good luck how we've got to say goodbye. I must wander on to keep my rendezvous. Though I drift from town and city, I can never stay. For I find no place to call my home sweet home. I don't ask for help nor pity, I just go my way. All I'm praying for is peace to dream alone. I'm just driftwood on the river, and I'm drifting on till this weary river meets the deep blue sea, where the deep blue sea may help me to forget someone. Yeah, the girl is one who has forgotten me. In my heart, I don't feel better over what has been. I feel sorry for the one I must forget. And instead of being someone with the world to win, I'm just driftwood on the river of regret. I'm just drifting on the river of regret.
An old classic. You are my sunshine. Everybody knows it.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my holly away. The other night, dear, as I laid sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I got my guitar and played. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away. How would ya?
Tank song, Cold Cold Heart.
Okay.
Love that song. I tried so hard not to do that you're my everything. Yet you're afraid each thing I do is just some evil scheme. A memory from your lonesome past keeps us so far apart. Why can't I free your doubtful mind and melt your cold, cold heart? Another love before my time made your heart sad and blue. And so my heart is paying now for things I didn't do. And anger, unkind words are said that make the teardrops start. Why can't I free your doubtful mind and melt your cold, cold heart? You'll never know how much it hurts to see you sit and cry. You know you need and want my love, yet you're afraid to try. Why do you run and hide from life? To try it just ain't smart. Why can't I free your doubtful mind and melt your cold, cold heart? You play that D. It's in G, George. Here we go. There was a girl on my mind I can't get over, that would break the heart of any man. Without her, things would fall to pieces. Well, I'm dreaming about my Marianne. Oh, I'll just keep touching up my gray hair, live and hope
know she's out there somewhere in a world that can't be found. Just to think of her still tears me down. And if teardrops were pennies, then I'd be a wealthy man. From the tears I cried for Mary Ann. So I'll just keep thinking of my gray hair. Live and hope someday she'll understand. Well, it's no matter if I live to be 100. There'll always be a place in my heart for Mary Ann. Oh, it's no matter if I live to be 100. There'll always be a place in my heart for Mary Ann.
Yeah.
I listened to that run to give me the time.
Played that a few times, I never down.
Yeah, you did it.
G for George. Or D5, however you want to play it. I'm gonna play it in D5. You come home late and you come home early. You come home big when you're feeling small. Come home straight and you come home curly. Sometimes you don't come home at all. What in the world's come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broken speed of the sound of loneliness. You're out there running just to be on the run. I've got a heart that's full of evil. Got a weary and a jealous mind. How can a love it'll last forever? Get left so far behind. What in the world's come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? You broken the speed of the sound of loneliness. You're out there running just to be on the run. What in the world's come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? You broken the speed of the sound of loneliness. You're out there running just to be on the run. Mighty mean and a dreadful sorrow come over the land today. How can you ask about tomorrow when you ain't got one word to say? What in the world's come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broken the speed of the sound of loneliness. You're out there running just to be on the run. You're out there running just to be on the run.
Jimmy got us control.
A chord. In a bar in Toledo, across from that depot, a bar stool she took off her ring. I thought I'd get closer, I walked on over, I sat down and asked her her name. She was a beauty, but when she come to, she must have thought I'd lost my mind. I couldn't hold her for the words that he told her kept running back time after to find time to leave me, Lucille. Poor hungry children, crops in the field. I've had some bad times, lived through some sad times. This time you're hurting, won't heal. You better find time to leave me, Lucille. He finally left us. I ordered more whiskey. She said, let's go have a ball. From the lights of that bar room to a rented motel, we walked without talking at all. She was a beauty when she copped to me. She must have thought I'd lost my mind. I couldn't hold her for the words that he told her kept running back time after time. You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. Poor hungry children, crops in the field. I've had some bad times, lived through some sad times. This time you're hurting, won't you? You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille.
Old Jimmy Rogers song, or not Jimmy Rogers, Jimmy Martin song. Get the right Jimmy here. Ocean of Diamonds. You remember that one?
I like Jimmy
You never heard that?
Never heard that. Sing it for
I don't think. Listen. I give an ocean of diamonds. Oh, boy, she jumped right down the throat. Wow. I give an ocean of diamonds, the world filled with flowers, just to hold you close, dear, for just a few hours, to hear you whisper softly that you love me too. Would change all the dark clouds to bluest of blue. Some people drink champagne out under the stars, while others drink wine lean over a bar. But all that I need to make me feel fine is to know that your love will forever be mine. I give an ocean of diamonds, a world filled with flowers, just to hold you close, dear, for just a few hours, to hear you whisper softly that you love me too. Would change all the dark clouds, bluest of blue. I don't drink their champagne, I don't drink their wine. So if you refuse me, my poor heart will pine. I'll be so lonely till the day that I die. As long as I live here, still hear me crying. Give an ocean of diamonds, the world filled with flowers, just to hold you close, dear,
that you love me too would change all the dark clouds, bluest of blue, would change all the dark clouds, bluest of blue.
Cowboy D.
I got in there, Cash and Ray Charles. I'll try to do it like William did.
I've heard of Willie and Ray.
Crazy old soldier. I've had fame and fortune, women come knock on my door. I've lived to the limit and maybe a little bit more. There's so many stories of how I got out of control. Some say it's a woman, some say it's my troubled soul. Like a crazy old soldier, fighting the war on my own. Just me and the whiskey and the bottles I didn't know was strong. Could think I'd kill her as many times as I've been hit. Like a crazy old soul, I just don't know him. Barrooms and bedrooms are just faces, places, names. Once for the pleasure, Lord knows, once for the pain. I've tried to forget her and all of the things we've done. But as long as her memory, I'll never hang up my gun. Like a crazy old soldier, fighting the war on my own. Just me and the whiskey, bottles are 10,000 strong. Could think I'd kill her as many times as I've been hit. Like a crazy old soldier, I just don't know when to quit. Like a crazy old soldier, I just don't know when to quit.
Crazy old soldier.
Yeah.
I like to pass.
Busted flat in Baton Rouge, headed for a train, feeling nearly faded as my jeans. Bobby thumbed the diesel down just before it rained, took us all the way to New Orleans. I took my old mouth harp from my dirty red bandana. I was playing sad while Bobby sang the blues. Windshield wipers flapping time and Bobby clapping hands in fine. We sang every song that driver knew. Freedom is another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing ain't worth nothing, but it's free. Life was easy living, Lord, when Bobby was with me. Feeling good was good enough for me. Oh yeah, good enough for me and Bobby McGee. From the coal mines of Kentucky to the California sun, Bobby shared the secrets of my soul. Standing right beside me, Lord, doing everything I'd done. And it at night she kept me from the cold. Somewhere near Salinas, Lord, I let her step away, looking for the home I hope she'd find it. I trade my tomorrows for a single yesterday, holding mommy's body next to mine. Freedom is another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing ain't worth nothing, but it's free. Life was easy living, Lord, when Bobby was with me. Feeling good was good enough for